morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another coffee break chat. I'm your host, James Jackson, executive producer, Light Thief Productions, and I think we got a great show for you. 1 second while I figure out why I can hear myself. I think that's it. There we go. All right. Monitoring on Twitch, and I forgot to turn off the internal feed of Twitch, and so I could hear myself in my own ear. That drives me a little crazy. Anyway, welcome back to another Coffee Break chat. Today we got election news for you, and we've got our election whisperer, Timothy Reimer. He's going to be on in a minute. I'm just finishing posting up the links to the coffee break chat on Blue Sky, and I will be done that in a second. But while I'm doing that, if we could talk a little bit about what's going on lately, I'm sure y'all are wondering why I don't stream regularly anymore. And to be honest, it's a matter of freedom of speech. Freedom of speech, regardless of the fact that it was supported by quote unquote free speech absolutists in the lead up to the election, has been chilled. It is not as easy for people to speak out as it was before the beginning of the Trump's 2025 presidency. And people are less likely to express their opinions, to tell you what they think, to be honest and forthright with what they want to say about what's going on. And I can't fault them for it. I honestly can't. There's attacks on nonprofit organizations. There's attacks on uh, citizens and non-citizens, and there's attacks on people just doing what are everyday things for them and things that they believe in and that are part of their life, and immutable parts of their lives. So when you encounter news and reports of things going as wildly as they have been during this administration, and people being punished both economically and legally for their nothing more than their opinions, it leads to people telling people like me during an interview process that, hey, I'm not sure I want to actually, talk about the anything political. Well, like life is politics. How do you talk about life without talking about anything political? I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure how you talk about life without talking about things politically. It's important that we protect our ability to speak and our free speech, and um, and express ourselves directly, regardless of whether or not the government or anybody else in particular agrees with us. I don't know how else to say that. I don't know how else to express that it's important for you to keep on um, really keeping your opinion out there and uh, expressing yourself so that you, as part of society, uh, are a visible part of society. You're regardless of whether or not you think other people agree with you, um, you're part of society, and just the expression of your beliefs and Validity is as important as anything else. Um, anyway, that's kind of what I have to say on freedom of speech at the moment. We have people we have people getting arrested for playing the Imperial March in the presence of uh, police officers. What's the word I'm looking for? National Guard troops in cities off of their cell phone. I don't think that makes much sense. Somebody playing a piece of music on their cell phone in public, regardless of what that piece of music is or who you're standing next to, um, isn't really an arrestable offense. It might lead to somebody being a jerk to you, but that's not something that anybody should be arrested for. I don't know. I don't know how else to explain that things are fucked up. At any rate, I'm gonna bring Tim on now, and let's have a chat about elections. Timothy, welcome. Please tell folks who you are, what your pronouns are, and what it is you do.
Hi, I'm Timothy Reimer. My pronouns are he and him. I work in construction, and I flood the internet with my opinions, whether or not anybody wants to hear them. So at least when it comes to my speech, you do not have to worry. I will continue saying things whether or not people listen and whether or not it is permitted by the government.
Yeah, I mean, I say that I talk about this as I sit here on you know, my very expensive way of expressing my free speech and say that, and I do express my own free speech, but I don't think I don't think some of the, free speech absolutists around have realized how much speech has been chilled through the early part of this administration, and how many things are going on that are chilling that freedom of speech.
I mean, it would be hard to miss it, but I don't think it just started with this administration.
Oh
I
no,
mean,
no, absolutely not. It's been around for a
it's been
while.
a yeah, we've been on a solid censorship trajectory for at least the last decade.
Yeah,
And I mean, maybe the internet was a little bit of a wild space that needed some controlling, but it's now it's moving into traditional avenues like the regular media and television,
yeah.
and that's very troubling.
Yeah, especially
It's
television. People play off Jimmy Kimmel thing. Like, oh, he wasn't that good of a comic anyway, or Paramount can decide whatever they want to do, or it's Paramount, right? I forget. Anyway, um,
I mean, I don't watch the guy, but I don't want him silenced for having opinions, even if I disagree with them.
right, exactly. Like I don't watch the guy either, but also they clear he clearly wasn't being pulled off the air because he was unpopular. He is a late night talk show host and he has good ratings. It's whether I watch him or not, there's tons of people that watch him and he draws in tons of revenue for the company he works for. I don't think anybody could actually argue, legitimately argue that he was being pulled because of his opinions, or not because of his unpopularity. Um, at any rate, I may have some trouble here. I've been having trouble with my computer, so just to forewarn everyone, I may pop off the screen every once in a while. I apologize if that happens. The broadcast should still continue running. I've been having trouble with my power button, and it seems to be acting up, and it's popping up right now. So if I pop away, I will come right back. Um, at any rate, And there it goes. There. Am I still live? All right. It looks like I'm still live. All right. Um. Anyway. Yeah. So, as I was saying, um, you every year do a Halloween display in your alley. Um, and I would appreciate if you'd go into that and talk about that a little bit. Oh, 1 second. I'll be right back with Tim.
Bathroom, but for the kitchen, it's
Sorry,
okay.
sorry about that.
Oh, I think he's back.
I am. I was back on live stream before I was back with you guys. I didn't realize I had to open this screen as well. Anyway, you every year, Tim, you do a Halloween display, and I'd love for you to talk about your Halloween display this year and what you're planning.
Sure. So, yeah, every year. Well, first, I love Halloween. It is my favorite holiday. It has been my favorite holiday since I was a child. Um, and it has evolved over the years. And now it has reached the phase in my life where I am the person who decorates for Halloween in the neighborhood. Um, it started out, I started decorating because I wanted children to actually come to our neighborhood to trick or treat, and they did not. But it was sort of a chicken and an egg problem. You decorate, they will come. And it took many years, and they did. And then there's an alley behind my house, and we spent a long time that I've been here cleaning it out and making it nice and passable. And I thought, oh, let's see if we can create one of the kind of experiences of my youth, like a haunted house experience, um, and see if people will try it out. And much to my surprise, people will walk down a poorly lit alley at the invitation of strangers. And so, we started 5 years ago, and it's grown exponentially each year. I think last year we had somewhere about 2,000 people come through to check it out. It's at the intersection of 51st and Catherine in West Philadelphia. It's free and open to everybody. We're going to have, uh, weather permitting, we will have early daytime hours starting at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon for younger children. So there will be, no super scary stuff, and it will be daylight. So I mean, I can't take anything down, but it should be a little bit more mellow for younger children, and there certainly won't be people jumping out and screaming at people or flashing lights and that sort of thing. And we have some more child-friendly animatronics and whatnot will be on at that time. And then as it gets darker, we will have actors jumping out and scaring people, and scary animatronics and lights and fog and whatnot. It's like a whole production. Um, and it's just something I like doing. I'm gonna be weird all year round, but this is the time where I can run wild with it, and so I do.
I don't think of you as a weird guy. I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird too. Um,
I think that's it.
uh, so there are obviously there's been an interesting thing going along with this Halloween that I've seen in the kind of lefty sort of Facebook space, and I kind of think this might be a little bit of a false flag lefty Facebook space thing, because I haven't actually seen anybody who I know promote this idea. But there's the idea of giving out food items, non-perishable food items, in addition to or instead of candy. And I'd like to talk momentarily about that. I can guess what your thought process is on this, but it's probably similar to mine, and I just want to kind of throw that out there just because I think it's hilarious. But go ahead.
Well, I mean, there is all of this food insecurity with the suspension of SNAP benefits and, the community coming together and doing something to take care of each other. Like that's really important. That's an admirable goal, but at the same time, like if you have children trick or treating, like we can't be throwing like cans of stuff in their bag and crushing their candy. And also, like, kids are gonna be pissed off if they're carrying around a bag of groceries and not a bag of candy. Like, I mean, we can absolutely help our neighbors, and as a community come together to make sure people aren't hungry. I just, let the kids have their thing, and we will figure out a way to get people the food they need.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, in
that's
my neighbor,
that's 99% my opinion too. I don't quite I'm gonna be one of the few times I'll say let kids be kids, and just hey, let them have a day where all their entire responsibility is to collecting candy and enjoying
yeah.
themselves. Um, uh, I don't think this is a good idea in any way. Some of the good ideas that have come from the federal shutdown, I've seen an increase in sharing of resources like findhelp.org. Great website, by the way. Really, if you are in need of any services of any kind, whether it be housing, food, like you just you have something that is an urgent need to keep you in a livable space and off the street, go to findhelp.org. You're hungry, go to findhelp.org, enter your zip code or the nearest zip code of the post office closest to you, and it has resources across the board and will display them on a map for many things that people need. And it's non-partisan and non-judgmental. You can, each organization has its own rules that's listed there, but definitely keep that in your back pocket. If you run out of food or need to connect with community resources, is a really great way to do it. Um, some of the other things I've seen, certain restaurants like many time guest and friend of the channel, Jennifer Zavala, who runs Wana Tamale. She is doing free or pay what you can children's meals at her restaurant every day, all day until SNAP benefits return. Um, Take advantage of it. It's really good food. I feed my daughter that food every Thursday, so like come on down to the restaurant, get your kid fed, and they have the homey menu, which isn't super expensive, and you can get you fed too, if you got a couple bucks in your pocket. But Jen's not going to make you buy something for yourself just to feed your kid, and I think that's a really great resource. Um, there's other really great resources. I don't know if you know resources in the West Philly neighborhood. I know South Philly, obviously, because I'm down here, but.
Well, I mean, right near me, Councilwoman Gauthier has a regular food giveaway. I believe it's only once a month. I'd have to double check. And then further up 52nd Street, the Blackwell Cultural Alliance does it every weekend. And there's a list in West Philly. I don't have a convenient link to it that I can give people, but there are tons of people, mostly like on smaller levels, distributing food in the area. And I mean, it makes me really good to see, that people take care of each other in my community, but it also like makes me really sad when I see how long that line is.
There's
Like,
it's interesting because it makes me think back to 2020 and the shutdowns and the pandemic. Um, and during that, not only did my family take advantage of food resources available, but I also worked to make food resources available for people and housing resources. Um, I don't, I think the thing that bothers me about this is that it's I don't know if it's a clear attempt, but it is somewhat of an attempt at quote unquote privatizing social welfare. Um, like I can see the backside of this, and the backside of this is that people are going to say from the small government side, they're going to say, oh, well, clearly everybody was able to take care of themselves. Why don't we just get rid of SNAP entirely?
Well, that is 100% what Republicans will say. And it's a terrible idea. Food, in a society as wealthy as ours, food should be considered a basic human right, and there's no reason anyone in this country should be hungry. Like it's an absolute embarrassment that anyone would be without food. Like there's just and it's on the grand scheme of things, it's really cheap. Like compared to the other crap we waste money on.
It is really cheap.
Like,
I don't,
it is. I mean, it's like a tiny fraction of healthcare, and it would also, like, if people are well fed, they don't get sick as much. Like it would
people,
probably make health. Yeah,
yeah,
it
they
would
don't
probably
get
pay for
sick.
itself
They
just on
they
that.
can work easier. They don't. There's less crime because people who are hungry. I don't know if you've ever heard the term the term hungry for it. Make yourself hungry for it. But in sales circles, there's um, the literal execution of that is to literally have your sales staff eat lunch late or not eat lunch at all, or encourage them to not eat lunch at all, because when you're hungry you process faster and you try and find ways to get things done, and what that often generates is things getting done outside of the best way to do them or the legal way to do them.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all around terrible. I mean, I am happy that people in my community take care of each other, but I would much prefer that people just got their SNAP benefits.
Yeah.
And you know, uh, there's plenty of blame to go around. It's with this budget impasse business, and it happens more and more, and it happens not just on the federal level, but at the state level. It's time that we just had a common sense approach to it, that if a budget is not passed, there's just an automatic continuing of the existing budget. Well, we work it out. Like it's just like
Or at least that
like
there's a category of things like SNAP benefits, welfare benefits, and I call these things benefits because that's the common language for them. They're not actually benefits or entitlements. They're just part of how the government works.
they're services.
Yeah,
Like that's the government exists to provide people services. Like that's why we have a government.
yeah.
Like
Certain
it's his
things
job.
just shouldn't be able to be suspended, or the pay for them shouldn't be able to be suspended. It's not like the country is going to actually run out of money, and this whole
Well, I mean,
concept.
did you stop paying taxes? Did I
No.
stop paying taxes? No. So there's no reason the government, they have no excuse to not continue doing their job.
Right,
Well, we're still paying our taxes,
right.
and it's
But
if you
that,
can't.
but Tim, that would just take away the whole leverage that the government has to, cry poor and claim that they need to do this or need to do that.
Well, I mean, that is the problem. Neither side wants to give up that leverage, so it's not going to be an easy sell. But it could be started, on a local level, like here in Pennsylvania. Our budget impasse is a hot mess, but we have a pretty solid record of amending our constitution every decade at least. Slipping something in there. It wouldn't be difficult,
There are some
and
things that this interestingly brings to mind, like the SEPTA budget fight, um, compared to the MTA. The MTA is automatically funded. There can't be a budget fight over it. Whereas SEPTA is currently locked in.
annual appropriation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
yeah, it brings to mind things like that. Like, why isn't, SNAP or Social Security or healthcare subsidies, why aren't they just locked into automatically being paid for?
because politicians on both sides would rather have the leverage over us than to make sure that our government functioned orderly and reliably.
I agree. I don't know. I don't know anybody that couldn't agree with that. I'm sure somebody would.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's a large percentage of the population that wants to blame the other side for those things.
right.
But the truth is, it is just
No,
politicians in
yeah,
general being shitty.
the truth is, like, this has happened under Democratic majorities. It's happened under Republican majorities. It's happened under Democratic and Republican presidents. Um, the truth is, like, it's obvious that you could have taken any point in the history of the country and said, "Oh, these things are too important. These actually are too big to fail. Let's make sure that they cannot fail." And let's, lock in the funding for them regardless of what's happening with the government. The government isn't, but there's always been this kind of idea of norms and stability to the US government, um, which we just don't have anymore.
Yeah, it's sad.
Um, what one of the things that brought stability and normalcy to the U.S. as a whole, as a government, is birthright citizenship. So the security of people to know that if they are born here, they are a citizen, they have some place to call home. This is where they are, at the very least, a citizen of. There are attacks on birthright citizenship happening right now. There are very public, very forward, very high up in the administration of the executive administration, people pushing the idea of some sort of citizenship tiering, where people who haven't been here, their ancestry doesn't date back to before the Civil War or some other random. By the way, the Civil War metric is just a random number. It's just a random goalpost that they will move. Don't take me as supporting this in any way. They will move the goalpost as soon as that doesn't fit with whatever narrative they want. They will move the goalpost and they'll say, "Oh, it's only people who've been here since the War of 1812." I don't know.
And when that's not good enough, it'll be only people whose families were here before the British.
Yeah. Eventually, it just becomes only Indigenous Americans, and then they can kick us all out. But yeah, I'd be okay with that. I think that. um, uh, uh, I don't understand. I do and I don't
I,
understand. Go ahead.
I mean, it's another embarrassing one. I mean, like, I don't see it going anywhere. I mean, citizenship, it's written in stone, basically. I mean, they can say I guess people can do what they want, but it's not going to fly.
Mm,
You're born here, you're an American. That's the way it is, whether you like it or not. Whether they like it or not. And I mean, changing that, like, I'll admit there are other countries where if you're born there, you do not automatically get citizenship. But it's I don't see that being tenable for a country as large as ours. Like, it's that's just not gonna work. And I guess you'd have to change the Constitution to enable that anyway, which I don't see that one passing.
I don't see that one passing either, but then we have, the whole idea of a Trump third term, which keeps getting floated, much to the the Trump third term thing, and the and him constantly going on about passing a test at Walter Reed, are both like, they're like cringe humor. Like, I can't stand cringe humor. I can't, like, I've never been able to like watch like Rob Schneider or Jackass or any of that stuff where it's like cringe humor, where like, like the whole point is to make you internally cringe. I can't watch it. It's the same thing.
This is real life.
I
Yeah. I mean, I didn't vote for this idiot. Like he truly believes that when he says it, and that's troubling. I mean, there's going to be a reckoning, you know, at in a couple years. Like it's not going to be. It wasn't peaceful the last time, and I don't think it's going to be peaceful this time.
I just don't, I don't know what else. I detailed this on my page. That, this whole, the Speaker Johnson putting the House in recess, but not gaveling it out of session, I think is a test run for how they plan to get past the 2028 election. Not that necessarily Trump will be alive, but I think this plan goes regardless of who is in the executive office. Um, he's doing it right now. Like, he's doing this right now. He took the House out of session, put it in recess, not adjournment. And so legislative days aren't passing. All the rules in the House are tied to the legislative calendar, which means that nothing can happen. They can't make House members, Congress members can't make motions. They can't, like, they can't vote on anything. They can't meet in committee. They can't do anything until the speaker gavels them back into session. Um, so the thing that they're doing by doing this is avoiding swearing in a representative elect from Arizona. We can argue till the cows come home, and you and I probably wouldn't argue about why they don't want to swear in this representative elect. However, the point of fact is that he's just basically nullified an election. He's disbanded, for all intents and purposes, the House of Representatives in Congress. These people have no power without being without being on the floor and being able to vote for things.
Yeah, I mean that is one interpretation. And you're ascribing motives to people that we don't necessarily know one way or the other, but what you're saying falls within the realm of possibility. Like that's I don't think it's quite about just this one person's election. There's all types of stuff that's not happening right now,
Sure.
without like they're still battling about who gets about like confirming nominees and stuff without stuff in session. you know there's all the different rules you're talking about. Like it plays out all throughout different levels of the government, and it's just a mess. Like I if anything, though, it makes our state government look a little less dysfunctional.
It does. It does that. Actually surprised.
Just a,
I, I'm
I mean,
I'm actually surprised they haven't tried this at the state level. So
yeah, I mean, we were talking online, and I the other week, and I have very, very low expectations of anyone in Congress, and they are living up to those expectations, all of them right now. Um, so I right? And we keep electing the same assholes. Like,
Well, let's talk about electing the same assholes. So the Philadelphia 2025 election is coming up on November 4th. We do have an election to go to, folks. Yeah, you know how they say get out and vote? They mean it now. They mean it now and every time. Like, it's not just about the president. It's not just about the big elections that, come up. It's not just about Congress, because clearly you can have a congressional election and it doesn't really fucking matter because they're just gonna weasel around it. Um, these local elections are important, and this one has an import as far as state governing goes. There are the elections of the district attorney, which has a challenge this particular year. The district attorney for Philadelphia is Larry Krasner. And on the ballot are Larry Krasner, a Democrat, seeking his third term, and he's being challenged by Pat Dugan, formerly a Democrat, now a Republican, and a municipal court judge. And he's appearing on the general election ballot as a Republican for district attorney. Personally, I hate the phrase or ideology. Don't switch a horse midstream. It makes me a little crazy. When I'm working, I will often quote unquote switch horses midstream if it's clear that something isn't working. But in this particular case, my review of the candidates is just that looking at what Larry Krasner is doing and has done and what he says he wants to do, and his record, at least according to the statistics and the results, seems to be that he's doing his job well. Not excellent, not bad, but well. A little bit better than average. For me, as far as a district attorney goes, unless they were accused of grift or graft or malfeasance in some other way, that changing out that district attorney would then require somebody offering a better idea. And scientifically, the policies that Pat Dugan has proposed and or supports don't show best practices as studied by the rather large body of people that study what is called criminology, and have studied it for literally hundreds of years and have made great advancements in the last 2 or 3 decades into figuring out how crime is generated and how to mitigate it. What are your thoughts, Tim? I mean, I know you know who's going to win.
well, yeah, I mean, so the election for district attorney is over.
Mm.
I strongly disagree with your characterization that Larry Krasner is good at his job. The job of the district attorney is to manage an office of several hundred assistant attorneys whose job is to then prosecute crime.
I said well, I
And
didn't say good.
okay, well, I mean, he's not even doing his job well.
I think so.
Is the way I see it. Why people like Larry Krasner is he's trying to implement reforms in the limited way he can, and he is well-meaning in what he is trying to do. I just disagree with how he's going about things.
Mm.
He is not really doing his job as it is defined by law. But it's sort of irrelevant because he's going to be reelected. The only question is by what margin. and I expect he'll do a couple points worse than he did last time. Dugan
I
did a
could see
little bit
that.
better than, yeah, I mean, he's at every election he's had, basically, he does a little bit worse. The primaries, generals, his popularity, the longer he stays in office, the less his popularity is. I mean, he still wins
That's
by large
that's
margins.
any office
It's
holder
just,
though. I don't think anybody
yeah,
has ever gotten more popular over the course of their term.
yeah. I mean, I'm not, I'm just stating the facts. Like, it's not a unique phenomenon to him, and
Mm,
that's why I'm confident he's going to be reelected. I mean, also just the voter registration edge, but I, following the normal trend of things, it will likely be by a couple points less than last time.
hmm
Um, and to your point about not wanting to change things without a better alternative, I can agree with what you're saying there. Like, Dugan doesn't have anything unique to offer. He just wants to, like, go back to doing things the way they used to be, which, you know, whether you like Krasner or not, was not the best solution. I like some of Krasner's ideas. I just don't think he's good at running the district attorney's office.
I think
So
as an executive, he does leave things to be desired. That's not unique to my thinking on any executive, though, and I'm pretty picky when it comes to executive decisions.
yeah, well, I mean, if but the point is, though, it doesn't make sense to get rid of him for someone, who's not a step forward.
Right.
Now, I mean, Dugan would probably be a better administrator.
Mm,
He was an administrator of the municipal court. The municipal court is not nearly as large as the district attorney's office, but prior to Krasner, he was in a partnership with one other person, versus now he's in charge of several hundred people.
mm-hmm,
But that one's already decided.
mm.
And honestly, it's the same for the controller. Brady, she will be the controller again.
Yeah.
Ari will lose badly. Um,
Yeah,
I will take
so
this.
in just for just to support your thought, I did research through a number of channels, but just I'm working off my notes here, and I noted that ChatGPT didn't even return any other candidates other than Brady for city controller.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's a foregone conclusion in the general. Republicans haven't won a citywide contest straight up, since the new charter. Like, it's just there's not enough of them. It's not going to happen. I will say, though, that in my opinion, the controller probably should be a minority party carve out. Like, if you think about it, it does not make sense to have our city's chief auditor be part of the ruling party.
That would
And
be interesting. I think it would it would limit our talent pool a little bit. I get where you're saying, but also we've had controllers like Reinhardt who did an admirable job and killed her party cred by doing a good job.
I mean, yes and no. But Ryan Hart took it far too beyond the scope of what the auditor was ever intended to do,
Mm,
and used it to shamelessly promote herself to no end, and then lost, in the process of shamelessly promoting herself, alienated the very people whose support she needed, and then lost an election because of it.
mm.
So she pretty much got exactly what she deserved. But you could have qualified people. I mean, there are plenty of Republican accountants out there. I mean, shit, you could probably find a decent accountant who'd register in the Working Families Party. Like, there are more than enough bean counters to be had without, limiting ourselves to the Democratic Party. And if you look at the controller before Ryan Hart, Butkovitz, who I think is still a ward leader, he basically got run out of town for exposing the slush fund Nutter was using to pay his mistress.
Right.
And so, Democrats can oversee Democrats, but I feel like someone who's not a Democrat would have a more vested interest in digging into things. But that's the way I see it. really locally, the only important thing we have to consider locally is the judges being retained.
Yeah. So
Now,
yeah,
there
let's talk about the judge retention. So there are three judges up for retention on the 5-seat panel. The 5-seat panel is currently I'm
7 seat.
7-seat panel. Sorry, I'm looking for my statistics here. Is currently, what is it? Four Democrats,
Or
or
two
and
with a vacant. I mean,
two
I'm sorry, it's 5-2, no vacancies.
5-2, no vacancies. So even should one or two of the judges not be retained, it wouldn't drastically change the direction or makeup of the court. But having all three not retained would cause a complete rebuilding of the court, essentially.
Well, that just will flat out not happen.
Not happen.
I
Um,
mean, there.
I mean, in
I have
Jeffrey
some stuff.
Yass's wet dreams, it happens. I mean, he's really hoping it does.
Well, so here's the thing. Pennsylvania has had retention elections since we changed our state constitution in 1968.
Sure.
Prior to 1968, judges served 21-year terms, and then they just had to run for a straight up term the next time.
Mm-hmm.
We changed it. We cut the term down to 10 years, but we implemented retention elections. Now, in the time that we have implemented retention elections, 1968 to 2023 was the last statewide judicial election. Exactly one judge has lost the retention election on any of our state's three appellate courts, the Commonwealth Court, the Superior Court, and the Supreme Court. Just one judge in that over 50-year time span. Now, what it took for that judge to be voted out in 2005 was bipartisan outrage over the government giving themselves raises in the middle of the night. Quite literally, the legislature had a special late night session that was not publicly announced or anything. They passed raises for themselves. The governor signed it into office. It was challenged in court, and the Supreme Court went along with it. Now, the election that year, 2025, the only state level offices up were these judges for Supreme Court, and everyone was pissed off at the government, Republicans and Democrats. And so they took it out on these two judges that were running for retention. And the one who lost, he lost just barely. It was like he had like 49.5% yes votes. And that was with like Republicans and Democrats being furious at the government and having to have somewhere to direct their rage. Right now, Republicans really not furious at the government. You know, they're more or less content. I mean, they're they're not going to turn out in disproportionately huge numbers. And Democrats, they're going to turn out in huge numbers because they're discontented right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so no one is losing. No one ever loses except the one guy the one time. To give you another example of how infrequently this happens, you know a thing or two about Philadelphia politics and the cesspool of corruption we have here.
Mm-hmm.
We also have the largest local court system in the state by far. We have like 100 common pleas
Because we have like
judges.
50% of the population of the state, but yeah.
No, not even close. We have like 10%. It's like 15 or well, a little bit more. It's like 12 something million versus, and we have 1.5. But it's our local court system is massive. We have 100 common pleas judges and like 30 something municipals. In the entire time we've been doing retention elections in Philadelphia, just one judge
40%.
in Philadelphia has been 40% of the population.
Yep.
No.
37
what's
point,
our
37 point something, but I'm just rounding.
Well, we'll come back to that.
Okay.
But
continue. Sorry.
yeah. No, so in Philadelphia, with our massive pool of judges since 1968, only one judge ever has been voted out.
Mm-hmm.
Just one. And he was going to get disbarred anyway. Like
Right.
that's how bad it had to be. And this happened in 1985,
Mm-hmm.
4 decades ago.
Mm-hmm. And there's been
Retention elections
things
are the
where that same judge would have did less things that were less likely to get a judge disbarred or a slap on the wrist or any sort of condemnation, and that have happened that have been worse than that in the intervening 40 years. So
yeah, there's judges misbehave here all of the time.
yeah.
I mean, no one wants to talk about it, but bribing a Philadelphia judge is not a difficult proposition, and it's not an expensive proposition either.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are as corrupt as everyone else in our government,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even more so. But so no one loses their retention election. So really, the question we have for ourselves with the state Supreme Court, I mean, they're all going to win. The question is whether or not they should be retained.
Well,
And so,
my question, the question that this generates in my mind before we get to whether or not they should be retained, because I think I agree with you. I think I agree that there are two that have upheld their duty of office the entire time they've been a judge, and there's one that is questionable. I think we can circle back around to that just before we end. But the question in my mind is why there are people spending so much friggin' money to try and affect an election that A isn't going to have. I'd be surprised if we hit the 17% turnout that we hit last election, but even if we hit more than 17% turnout, it's a foregone conclusion. And the more money they spend on this election, the more turnout they're going to get, and the turnout actually drives the election into more certainty that they're going to be retained. Or am I missing something?
well, I mean, on the Republican side, you mentioned that Jeffrey Yost guy,
Mm.
and he spends money every election. It's what he does. And this is it in Pennsylvania. This is like the only thing he can really spend his money on for this cycle. And so that's what he's spending his money on.
I
He's going to
mean,
spend it either
he
way.
could spend
It
it
does. It
on
does.
just straight up bribing the judges to rule the way that he wants.
I mean, who's to say he's not doing that anyway?
Yeah, sure.
But he no, he spends this money every election, and it's no more or less. And on the flip side of that, the Democratic Party, they need a win. And so they're piling into it because they know they're going to get their win, and they're going to say, look, we got our win because, everybody came out and voted. Like it's easy for them, and it's not really that expensive. And also then like voters would be pissed off at them for like not trying to counter the message.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
no,
it's
I even as a progressive who doesn't like the Democratic Party would be pissed off if Democrats didn't at least try and counter the message that's being put out there.
yeah, I mean the message of just trust us, it doesn't matter, retention elections are the illusion of democracy would not make people happy. I mean, and
So we're making people not happy on one of the happiest holidays there is in the year.
so I mean that's why the money is being spent, because Yas is going to spend it, and it forces the Democrats to respond.
So
And
go
they're going to get
vote.
a
Vote on
yeah,
it.
they will get a verifiable win. No, so like people really should go vote,
No.
and what they should be voting on, the only thing that really matters this election, that for anyone in Pennsylvania, at least for anybody in Philadelphia, there may be local races that are competitive outside of Philadelphia, but I don't much care about them. Um, the state, in addition to our Supreme Court, which is getting all of the money and all of the attention, we have two intermediate appellate courts in Pennsylvania. We have the Superior Court and we have the Commonwealth Court. And there is a vacancy on both of those courts that will be filled at this election. Now, the Commonwealth Court I believe, is currently, it's a 9-member court. It hears appeals concerning government agencies or state agencies and municipalities and stuff. It doesn't really handle criminal stuff. Most people will probably never have business with this court, but it is important in terms of the law and how our state government functions. The balance is currently 5 Republicans and 3 Democrats. If the Republicans win this seat, they will have a supermajority on the court, and unless somebody dies or retire or decides to retire ahead of their mandatory retirement, they will have a solid control of that court for the foreseeable future.
And
Now,
the one interesting thing about retirement age for judicial offices in Pennsylvania is it's relatively early as compared with most offices and most sort of age limiting in government around the country. It's 71, I believe.
75.
75.
We changed that in 2016. We passed a constitutional amendment
Mm-hmm.
that raised it from 70 to 75.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for all judges at all levels in Pennsylvania, whether it be the state Supreme Court or the municipal court.
Which is interesting because most judges don't attain their highest office until their late 50s, mid 60s. There's just not time for them to aggregate enough support and general knowledge to viably serve on a higher court until they get into their 60s. And
So
yeah.
yeah, so I mean, being a judge, especially an appellate level judge, there is absolutely something to be said for experience. And our cutoff, 75, I think it's fair,
I think it's
but
fair too.
certainly we don't want to be just throwing away the talent of people who could provide services to our Commonwealth.
Right.
And so in Pennsylvania, we have what is known as senior judge status.
Mm-hmm.
And when a judge reaches retirement age, with the permission of, I think it's like the president judge of that court, um, if you're anything but the Supreme Court, you can stay on after you turn 75 as a senior judge. And you're not a like full 100% member of the court, but you will still be assigned cases and matters that are appropriate to be handled, that are not going to, no one's going to be upset about it. You're not going to be redefining the legal framework of our government, but your talents will and can still be put to use. And I think that's a good compromise. Even as I get older, it dawns on me that, we should not be letting people who are so far removed from the youth decide the course of society. They shouldn't be cut off,
Right.
but their power they have too much power, and limiting it at some point is beneficial to everyone.
Not only do
Let
they
these
have
people
too much power, it's also like their decisions get rooted in a zeitgeist that
backward.
doesn't exist any longer.
Yeah. I mean, they're just too far removed from the current status quo.
Yeah. Let's it is 11 o'clock, and I want to be respectful of time. I want to get back to just real quick wrapping up your opinions on the 3 judges and whether or not they should be retained. We have Donahue, Doherty, and Wecht. Donahue is the arguably most influential of the justices up for retention. She often writes the majority opinion. She seems to seek an expansion of rights that are guaranteed by the state constitution through strict interpretation, but also the making sure that anything that is covered by the Constitution is documented as covering it in her rulings, even if it's not in the letter of the Constitution, so long as the Constitution could rightfully be interpreted to cover those things as rights, as in she is very pro self-determination, non-discrimination, and she's written a very strong opinions that protect those rights in such a way that it can't be said that she's making it up. She's only interpreting the Constitution. She's not making new law. Doherty, we'll get back to because I know you have strong opinions on him. Wecht is somebody who usually concurs with Donahue. He often supports progressive causes. I don't see any like wildly outside the norm rulings or writings from him. And let's talk about Doherty. The one thing that I want to highlight about Doherty's record is he did try and find a way to thread the 2020 shutdown orders and vaccination orders by not agreeing with the Republicans in the legislature that the orders should be overruled by local control, but arguing instead that the orders were unconstitutional on their face, and so the whole law should be thrown out. Which is, I found an interesting way to try and keep his conservative cred while also supporting, also kind of giving the legislature a kind of pushback.
Well, I mean, he tries. I give him credit, but Doherty is without a doubt, he is the least qualified member of the state Supreme Court. Every other justice currently serving on the court was highly recommended by the State Bar Association before they were elected to the court. Doherty was just regular recommended. I mean, it's not recommended, but it is a much lower standard than every other justice. Every other justice currently serving on the court had prior experience on one of our state's two intermediate appellate courts, like ranging from I think 3 years to over a decade of service. Okay, and this last one, I know people, law schools, it's sort of subjective, but Doherty went to UDC Law, University of District Columbia Law, which is ranked in the bottom 10% of all law schools. Any law school in the bottom 10%, they are all ranked number 178. So no one has the shame of being dead last. So now, by far, this is the worst law school that anyone on the Supreme Court went to. One of the other ones, I forget which one, went to a not great ranked law school, and certainly the law school you went to is not the only thing that determines whether or not you're a good lawyer. But going to the one in the bottom 10%, it does reflect poorly on you. And by comparison, he is tied with only one other state level judge in any of the appellate courts for having gone to a school ranked that low. So he is the least qualified by every possible measure to be serving on the Supreme Court. Now, I would like to think that our state Supreme Court deserves the best and the brightest legal minds that the Commonwealth has to offer. And that's not Doherty, just bottom line. If he was voted off, it is all but guaranteed that anyone who replaced him would be more qualified. Like, just looking at the history of every other Supreme Court judge ever in the Commonwealth. I mean, he is, in the modern era, he is down there near the very bottom. Like the odds are strongly in favor of anyone replacing him being better. And we haven't even gotten to the fact that he is a Doherty and that his brother is currently in federal prison for corruption. And his brother, who is in federal prison for corruption, is the one who has bankrolled his entire career at every step of the way. In 2015, when Doherty ran for the Supreme Court the first time, his brother, controlling the union and the trades and the local building trades council, directed millions of dollars to his campaign. He was elected over far more qualified candidates with better experience, but without a corrupt brother to bankroll them. Doherty even got his start in the judiciary when he was appointed to fill a vacancy on the Philadelphia Common Pleas Court by Republican Governor Tom Ridge. Now, how does that happen? The Republican governor just picks some random 30-something-year-old, kid who went to a shitty law school from South Philly to be, you know, a judge?
No,
No.
he knew a
Like,
guy who knew a guy.
yeah, his brother bribed somebody.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
And for those of
he
you watching either now or sometime in the future, he knew a guy who knew a guy is Philly speak for there was some money changing hands or some illegal activity ties that made it possible for this to happen.
yeah, and it's just that's not the guy that we want. Now he's gonna get retained.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna happen. So, my objections aside, he will be serving on the state Supreme Court as long as he desires to do so, or until the year he turns 75, when he will have to retire at the end of that year.
Right.
But real quick for people though, we do got to cover the Commonwealth Court and the Superior Court. And I'll
Okay.
keep this super brief.
Okay.
You've got two candidates. There are retention elections. Both judges running for retention on both of those courts are fine. They're going to win whether you vote yes or no. Doesn't really matter. Open seats do matter. These intermediate appellate courts, they handle the majority of all appeals in the Commonwealth. Most cases will never go to the Supreme Court. They will be decided at one of these two courts. These courts really matter. The Commonwealth Court, you have Stella Sy running against Matt Wolford. Both are highly recommended by the State Bar Association. So, if partisan concerns are your only concerns, you can vote for either one, securing the knowledge that they would do a good job. Now, Stella Sy has close to a decade of experience as a common pleas judge. Matt Wolford has none. Now, for an appeals court judge, I really think having some experience as a judge before you get elevated to that level is a plus.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. As far as law schools go, Sy went to UPenn and Wolford went to Temple. I really don't care for UPenn living in West Philadelphia, and my experience with the city law department has vastly lowered my opinion of lawyers who went to Temple Law. But on the grand scheme of things, they are both respectable law schools. But really, what it comes down to is that Sy has previous judicial experience, and that makes her, without a doubt, the better candidate. And for me, I want the person who's going to do the best job,
Mm-hmm.
and that's going to be Sy. Now, the Superior Court. The Superior Court is a 15-member body. I believe it's currently eight Democrats, 6 Republicans. There is the open vacancy, and you have Newman running for the Democrats
Mm-hmm.
versus Batista for the Republicans.
Correct.
Um,
You also have a third
now,
party.
yeah, Wassemer. We'll get to Wassemer.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to win, but so Newman has previous experience as a common pleas judge. Maybe it's in Allegheny County, somewhere not here. And then prior to that, he served 3 full terms and 1 partial term as a state representative. Batista has no elected experience of any kind. Newman is highly recommended by the State Bar Association. and Batista is not recommended for her failure to participate. She didn't participate because the last time she participated in the process, when she ran and lost in 2023, they gave her a not recommended. So she didn't want to be not recommended again. So
So she's not
it is
recommended
what it
because
is.
she's not recommended.
Yeah, yeah, because she didn't participate, but that's why she didn't participate. And let's see, I forget which law schools they went to, but suffice it to say, Newman went to a better law school. And in terms of previous experience, the bar recommendation, and having gone to a better school, Newman is without a doubt the better choice. And again, I want to stress for anyone who's still listening how important these intermediate appellate courts are, because they are where most appeals decisions will be rendered. So, for the Superior Court, if you do have partisan concerns, the Democrats, if they lose this open seat, it will be 8-7.
Mm-hmm.
In 2025, the president judge of the Superior Court, Judge Lazarus, she hits retirement age, and so her seat will be up. And if Republicans win this time and in 2027, they will flip the court to their control. Now, I'm really just concerned about who's the better candidate for the job, but I know other people have partisan concerns. So if you do have partisan concerns, that's an important one. And the same for the Commonwealth Court. If Republicans win this seat, they will have a six. They will have a 6-3 supermajority, and they're going to hold it for a while. So that's the breakdown on that. Real quick, when we were talking about the Supreme Court, though, Donahue, I agree with your assessment. Out of the three, she's the best. She's the best of them.
Mm-hmm.
But what no one wants to talk about is in 2027, she turned 75 and she has to retire.
Mm-hmm.
So, whether we retain her or not, we're all going to be voting on her replacement in 2027.
Right.
And my preference would have been that she retired and let the voters decide this year. But it is what it is. And she wants her last 2 years. She already gets her pension. It doesn't matter. But we're going to be picking her replacement next time. And that is actually something that your listeners should also consider, because as much as I hate Doherty, if we vote Doherty off, and I encourage us to, but it won't work out that way. Come 2027, we will be voting on potentially 2 seats if we get rid of Doherty, and that can change the balance of the court.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as it undermines my own argument for getting rid of this buffoon, it is something for people who have a partisan concern to consider.
I think aside from partisan concerns, the constant whine from the Republicans who happen to make a home in Philadelphia is somewhat accurate, that everybody is locked into the Democratic Party. I don't think a Republican, especially in the current political climate, has a snowball's chance in a frying pan of winning an office, especially if they identify as a Republican. But it's interesting to see some of the folks like Doherty who, and like our mayor, who will play with the Democratic, name behind their name, but also are Republicans in all of the decisions they make and the policies they support.
Yes, they are absolutely dinos.
So I agree with your recommendations. I don't think it's going to change the face of the Supreme Court. I don't, even in yes, two. I don't see two Republicans getting elected, even when if we had to replace two Supreme Court justices. I think, and even though Wasserman isn't recommended by the bar, I think it would be interesting, it would be nice if we started having some folks who have outside the box, outside the duopoly ideas running as independents and get significant enough support during election cycles that it doesn't. I know you don't like the Working Families Party, and they're just an extension of the Democratic Party, um, uh, which I somewhat agree with. I think I take a little bit of issue. I think there's some value to them as playing off of the Democratic Party, but I think having a viable third party and actually viable third parties that represent the ideas that aren't either centrist enough to sell to both parties, which is what the Democrats do, or right wing enough to raise the rah rah flags for the Republican Party, or left wing enough for the Communist Party. Start actually being represented in elections, and because I think they would actually get support. I think you know.
Wassemer is none of those
Yeah, no,
things.
Wassemer isn't. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's valuable to. What I'm saying is it's valuable. It would be valuable to have actual independent candidates for things.
Oh yeah, I mean absolutely. But I mean, this guy Wassemer, the Liberal Party of Pennsylvania is the Keystone Party of Pennsylvania, which are just a bunch of people who used to be libertarians. Um, like it is very hard to take them seriously, especially when their candidate, even just the not recommended by the state bar. That's a line I'm not going to cross unless like you are in fact the second coming of Christ. Like,
I think the second
like
coming of Christ would get recommended by the state bar. I mean,
yeah, well, I mean maybe not. I don't know.
might be a little
It
too
depends.
socialist for them, but
Yeah, that's a hard line for me. Is that if your fellow lawyers say you're not qualified to be a judge, then that's at least on the state level that's a bit much for me.
yeah,
For really low level judges, we're not interpreting the law in such a way it's less of an issue, but
right,
where people can set precedents, you need to have some quality in their abilities.
right.
No,
Um,
but so the third party thing though, I would love for there to be more qualified candidates. Um, it's I would like for the Working Families Party to make an actual attempt to get their politicians elected just in straight up open competitions.
mhm.
And I mean, along those lines, I heard a rumor, it's probably not true, that someone is trying to convince Helen Gim to run for mayor under the Working Families Party banner next time,
Hmm.
which I would love to see that for so many reasons. Most of all, just to see Helen Gim lose again. But
I was gonna say I don't. I judiciously did a but yeah, I don't see Helen Gim winning any office higher than her district council that she now no longer has, because it's
Helen,
just.
Helen could get elected to the state house
You think so?
if she wanted. Yeah, I mean, she'd have to shop for the right district, but
Yeah.
what's for a Philadelphia politician, what's moving to a new district to get elected?
That's
You
nothing. No,
know,
that's nothing at
yeah.
all. Um, yeah.
So I mean, like, yeah, because I mean, like in the state house, she could, for instance, if like Rick Krajewski retired and Helen Gim ran, she'd have a little bit of trouble with the black part of the 188th, but the white people would vote for her and she would be carried to victory.
Hmm.
But like Rick's not retiring anytime soon.
Yeah.
If Helen Gim ran in the 10th, where Cassie Jones keeps getting her clock cleaned by Blackwell,
Hmm.
she might do better.
Well,
Like there,
Blackwell, I think Blackwell has that shut locked down for different reasons, but
Well, I mean, they both lost to Amon Brown. It's just, Blackwell is is spoiling it for both of them.
Blackwell, I I have historic problems having lived in the triangle of West Philly up there by Wyoda Street. Have historic problems with the whole Blackwell family and their their seeming contention that they deserve to be in charge of that property. But
Oh yeah, they view it as their God-given right.
yes, okay, so I'm not crazy. That's just what it is.
No, I mean, there's a lot of families who view whatever political piece as their God-given right. Like like the Register of Wills,
Yeah, yeah,
Sabatina,
yeah,
and his nepotism ass son.
yes. All right. Well,
But
thank you
no,
so
that's a
much.
topic for another day.
Yeah, thank you for talking to
Well,
me.
wait,
What?
real quick though, we,
Mm.
we completely skipped we completely skipped over the local judges who will get retained.
Oh,
But just for anybody who made it this far, um, the Philadelphia Bar Association has recommended that certain local judges not be retained.
mm.
There are five of them in the Common Pleas Court. There is DeClaudio, Palumbo, Gray, and Young. And on the municipal court, there is Judge Fraser Lyde. Um, I would encourage anyone who is listening to vote to not retain these people because they are all objectively terrible at their job and are in fact dangerous in their positions, in many cases to children and families because of their involvement in family court. Well, at least for Fraser and Gray. But please, please, please vote against retaining these people, and let's vote someone out who's incompetent for the first time in 4 decades.
And
We
if you don't want to take Tim's word for it, you can
take the
also
bar's word for it.
you can and if you even if you don't want to take the Pennsylvania Bar's word for it, their word for it is available on Spotlight PA. The League of Women Voters of Pennsylvania is a nonpartisan organization that also provides local judicial retention recommendations. And those are two very good resources that are nonpartisan, just based in what their records are, what they've actually done, any sort of controversies with those local judges. It's surprisingly easy to create a little fiefdom as a local judge in Philadelphia, and you suddenly have a rather large amount of power that people tend to take advantage of for some reason. Haven't quite figured that one out yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, so some of the there are two family court judges. Judge Lyris Young was such a terror in family court that she was suspended from her job as a judge for being terrible and was barred moving forward from participating in family court. Like, I mean, tearing apart families, just Google her name, anybody who is listening, and you will be greeted with things that will just they hurt to read that a court would do that to a family. And then you've got Gray, another one. Um, he just gets his decisions get overturned disproportionately, and the guy, he's got a bad judicial temperament. What really put it over the top for me is there was a Supreme Court ruling a couple years ago involving a trans litigant trying to legally adopt the child that they had raised. And just he came off as a transphobe and in a not so subtle way. And if you Google his name, you will find an article from the Philadelphia Gay News. And they, when you're talking about a judge, they as a written organization, they have to to play it relatively mellow, but the signs are all there. I believe they link to the Supreme Court decision, and they admonished this judge for repeatedly and intentionally misgendering someone. And the Supreme Court is loath to admonish people in their writings like that. Like that is the closest they will ever come to saying someone is a transphobe. And this guy is just also bad at his job. Palumbo, his family is all mobbed up.
Hmm.
Like just search for Palumbo.
Yeah, as
It's
you review these names, they are familiar for a reason, and it's not usually a polite reason.
yeah, it's no good. De Claudio,
Uh-huh.
this guy's a gem. So he was already suspended once from being a judge for failure to follow a court order to pay a debt to like his country club's gym or something like that. And he's like, oh, I'm a judge, I don't have to pay it. And so he got suspended from being a judge. When he decided he was going to run for retention, he made it very clear to everyone involved that as soon as he serves enough time to make up for his suspension, which is like 2 weeks, he's going to retire.
Mm.
So he's running for a 10-year term so he can serve 2 weeks to make up for his previous suspension and then retire. Now that offends me on so many levels, but that's just the first chip in against him. Earlier this year, if people might remember his name, he was all over the news because the state disciplinary board is investigating him for using his position as a judge to promote the cheesesteak shop that he and his wife run near the courthouse, Shays Steaks. And being under investigation while you're up for retention, not a good look. But sometimes people get their information wrong. But then it was last month or maybe the month before now, he got himself suspended again. This time for trying to influence another judge's case. He in a back room, he slipped a judge a piece of paper and said, "You're going to do the right thing on this case." Like this man should not be a judge. Like he is corrupt as the day is long.
Hmm.
Like no good. And then Judge Frazier lied. This one is pertinent uh, to current events.
She's one of the
So
she's one of the ones that is not recommended, but also specifically not recommended and didn't refuse to participate.
yeah, so Judge Frazier lied. Um, is Joe Frazier's daughter,
Hmm.
and that's the best thing she's ever done, basically. Um, no, I mean that's not true. When she was a lawyer, she did do a lot of community work, and she's just not good at a judge. But in something that's very timely, people listening may be familiar with this Kada Smith case that has unfolded recently,
Hmm.
and the various details about how the person charged with kidnapping and murdering this woman was arrested late last year, and had charges against him for kidnapping dropped this year before he went out and kidnapped or allegedly kidnapped and murdered another woman. Now, why those charges were dropped ties directly to Judge Frazier lied. At the preliminary hearing for those charges in the first case, the witness didn't show up. Judge Lyde marked the case as must be tried at the next hearing. And when the witness didn't show up at the next hearing, the DA made a tough decision to withdraw the case. Now, it wasn't the right decision. I understand why they did it, but had Frazier Lyde not marked the case as must be tried at the preliminary hearing, which there was no reason that she had to do that. That was a active choice she made.
I,
She set in
I
she
will
she it, it's a mistake.
I want to caveat that these judges, whether they're good or bad at their jobs, are processing so many cases that they do things by rote and make mistakes constantly.
I'm sorry, but when it comes to a case where a defendant is charged with kidnapping and strangulation, and he has a history of domestic violence, Like,
I
you know,
wouldn't have marked it as
that
must be tried either.
that
I'm
that
just
that's it's
saying
a,
I'm just
I mean,
saying
yeah,
that
like it's
they are overloaded. They do have a ton of crap put in front of them every day. And I've watched them when I've had to be in court, and they do things just by rote. They're just going through it so they can get through their docket as fast as they can.
I appreciate that, but when it comes to the most serious of crimes, like you've got the space to pump the brakes a little bit. Like kidnapping, is just it's like up there with rape and murder in the pantheon of the most fucked up
I
crimes.
agree,
Like
and
it's
I don't, and like this is one of the things that drives me insane about our judicial system, and also drives me insane about people who complain about our prosecution system, because this isn't a prosecutor decision. This is one of the many ways where our judicial system is skewed, rightfully so, towards releasing people who are not uh, properly, they're not properly prosecuted. They're not the are and the
are
for
you a
how,
Republican now, James?
huh? For
Are
how,
you a Republican
no,
now?
but for however, no, I agree with it. I agree with skewing our judicial system towards releasing people who aren't properly prosecuted. Because the saying is true. I would rather see 1,000 men go free, 1,000 guilty men go free, than one innocent man be prosecuted. Um, I think that, if you look at it, this is a long conversation. I apologize for dragging this out. If you look at the history of this level of our judicial system since, say, like the 1980s, and we're taking it back to Reagan, and Reagan, as usual, is the problem. Reagan's war on crime, war on drugs, created a glut of cases in the judicial system, and created a whole bunch of bad ways of dealing with crimes, and created a judicial system that has been on its back foot since then, just trying to catch up with the massive number of accusations and crimes that supposedly happened, that were all of a sudden dropped on them like I don't know, like a huge calzone worth of crime. I don't know. Um, but you had suddenly had a judicial system that was overloaded, and they dealt with it a couple of different ways. They did what I said, which is they started dealing with cases by rote. Meaning, for those of you that don't understand what I'm saying, they started just doing things in the same order, exactly the same way for every case, regardless of what was in front of them. They just took it on. They Judges started taking it on trust that the prosecutor and the defense attorney would work it out and figure out who really deserved to be prosecuted. The problem is, those cases done on rote were done with the prejudices of the prosecutor and the defense attorney. So if you had a defense attorney, say you were poor and you got hauled in for something. I got hauled in for having traffic tickets. I was hauled in. I met a prosecutor who looked at me, decided I was a good kid, and wrote off everything that the cops had wrote up as tickets as not really being worth prosecuting. I walked away from the court. The guy next to me, he looked at that kid who had on, like a hoodie, and decided that wasn't a good kid. And he made the kid sit there through the rest of the court day, had a trial, and threw the book at him, threw additional charges at him, threw more fines at him. And the judge just sits there and kind of rubber stamps this, because it's up to the prosecutor and the defense attorney to figure out, hey, are we going to cut this guy a break or not? And there are many other ways that the judicial system evolved to handle this, but these are holdovers from that period in time when the judicial system just got completely overwhelmed by nonsense charges that essentially allowed police and prosecutors and defense attorneys to decide who was going to jail and who was staying in their house.
That's true, but Judge Fraser lied still needs to go.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that. I just have
Yeah,
a
no,
I
I mean, you could, there are reasons why she might make bad decisions, but I still believe in holding people accountable for their actions, especially when
well,
later, especially when it directly leads to someone else dying later.
I agree. What I'm raving about, I guess, is these idiots who are like, the district attorney just lets everybody go. No, the district attorney doesn't just let everybody go. What we're evolving from and what we're evolving towards is a system where the district attorney was the judge, jury, and executioner, to a system where those actual things are separated as they're supposed to be, and there's a judge who figures out who's telling the truth between in an adversarial system between a prosecutor and a defense attorney, and you have a jury who figures out the matters of fact, and you have a judge who figures out matters of law. And we're trying to get back there, but we have a lot of shit that we have to get through, and I'm just effing sick of people who are just like, oh, this district attorney will let him out tomorrow.
Well, I mean, look, there's like in this specific case, like everyone fucked up. Like the police fucked up, the district attorney fucked up, the judge fucked up. Like I am not singling anyone out for blame. And as much as as much as I like seeing Krasner squirm, like he's not the one who made the bad decision. I mean, he took responsibility for it, which is the best he can do in the situation. And like, it's a system. Like mistakes happen, you know, sometimes people die. That it just sucks. But like just to see everyone involved so thoroughly fail on this one, like the police, like they failed to arrest this dude on new charges multiple times when he showed up at the courthouse on existing charges. And it's like, that's the easiest place to arrest people. There's bailiffs everywhere. You could have the bailiff arrest them. Like, you don't even have to show up yourself. Like, there's an active warrant. You just call the court and tell them they'll get arrested. Like, the DA dropped the charges when the assistant DA dropped the charges when they could have moved forward with just video evidence. Like, it's, I don't, I am not trying to single out any one person for, well,
You're trying to single out the
just one,
judge.
just one. I'm not trying to single out just one person for their fuck up in this. It's just it just so happens to be a timely incident involving a judge running for retention as an example of the kind of shit this judge gets wrong, which is why they are not recommended for retention by the Bar Association, which, for people who are not aware, is basically the club of all of the lawyers licensed to practice in our area.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're all members of the Bar Association, and they get together and evaluate judicial candidates. It's a rigorous process. There's tons of information on it online, but really the takeaway from this for me is I have learned this year that electing judges is a monumentally stupid undertaking, and that we need to move away from it. If it were up to me, I would personally have it be like jury duty, in that lawyers periodically got tapped for judge duty.
That would be pretty cool. Like the Bar Association just picks from the pool of the bar the judges.
And you're a judge.
Yeah.
You're a judge for 2 years, and if you fuck it up, you get disbarred.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
like
jury duty.
I also think that people who bring idiotic prosecutions, like these AGs who are suing the government to over birthright citizenship, should be disbarred. But I don't know. I don't fucking know anything.
Yeah, I mean that's some of them can be the judicial process. Like, you know, I am pursuing complaints against certain city lawyers just because they've rubbed me the wrong way
Hmm.
and violated the rules. And you know, all it really takes is somebody filing a complaint. Like lawyers are held to a very high standard, much higher than criminal defendants. Like, you know, it's not beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's usually just a preponderance of facts
Hmm.
is enough. And so, you know, you don't like some of these lawyers, do a little research, file a complaint with their state bar association. They're all licensed.
Hmm.
Like, well, I mean, well, most of them, I'm pretty sure you have to be a lawyer in every state
To
in
be
order
an
to be an
AG.
attorney
Yeah,
general.
I'm pretty sure.
I, you know, I mean, in most states, you have to be a lawyer to be a judge. Not all of them, but
Well, and there's some of these judgeships that are up for retention where you don't actually have to be a lawyer to be a judge.
no,
On
all of in Philadelphia, every single one of the judges we have just every single one of the judgeships we have discussed today,
Oh, okay. I'm
you
sorry.
you
I'm trying. What
you
am I thinking of?
traffic court magistrates don't
Magistrates
have to be
don't have to be
lawyers.
lawyers. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
one.
well, in Pennsylvania, magisterial district judges, which we don't have in Philadelphia, don't have to be lawyers. We used to have traffic court judges,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't have to be lawyers. I think some of them got grandfathered in when we abolished traffic court,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm fairly certain in order to be a judge in any capacity in Philadelphia that you have to be a licensed lawyer.
I'll have to look that up. There was some position that a couple of people that I know were looking at establishing enough. It was based on civil service. Like if you had enough civil service years, you could become a judge without sitting for the bar.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like certain things like bail commissioner, you know, like there are various less than full on judgeships,
Mm.
lower powers. But I mean, I'm pretty sure the only ones we had in Philadelphia were traffic court judges, and maybe some of them got grandfathered in when they moved over. But I don't think anybody getting elected now to be a judge gets to be elected without being a member of the bar.
Well, I'm gonna wrap up the conversation. I apologize. If I hope that everybody's gotten enough information
Enough of
on.
our
Uh,
ramblings.
yeah. But I appreciate you joining us, and I hope you'll join us again soon. And I hope you have a very successful Halloween. One second.
There we go.
Sorry about that. The computer started do. Sorry about that. The computer started doing that thing again. I
Oh,
was saying you. I hope you had a very successful have a very successful Halloween hunt, and join us again
yeah,
soon.
yeah. Oh, and I had just said in response, yeah, to anybody who made it this far, please come on out on Halloween for the free haunted house at 51st and Catherine. Uh, West Philadelphia Republicans have the best Halloween decorations because nothing's scarier than the GOP.
Thought about putting up some ice decorations, but I don't know. All right. Thanks so much for joining us, and hope to talk to you soon. I'm gonna go to one up of me, and outro the show, and feel free to hang around if you'd like to chat. Um, I thank you guys for joining us. Sorry for the two technical glitches. I guess it's time to replace my computer. At any rate. I hope that this has helped you understand some of our elections, our local elections, and some of the things involved in electoral politics here in Philadelphia, especially in off years. Regardless of the ability to predict what's going to happen here, the elections still matter. It's important that you're educated and understand what's going on, what's at stake in the elections, I know we said a lot of things about kind of the predetermined nature of these elections and the similarities between candidates, regardless of what banner they're running under. That's why it's more important than ever to actually educate yourself on what's going on, what each candidate is actually representing, what they actually want to do with their office. People, when they're running for office, surprisingly meet up with their promises, with their campaign proposals. They accomplish them or do them something like 90% of the time. That statistic isn't exact, but feel free to look up the exact statistic. I know it is a large preponderance of the time. People at least attempt to accomplish what they promised during their campaign. So your life is affected more by these local elections that get less turnout than by national elections that cause more drama. But at the end of the day, even these appellate judges, if you are involved in the legal system, you're going to talk to one of them before you talk to anybody higher up in the judicial system or in the federal system. So be sure that you participate. Be sure that you understand who you're voting for, who's up for election or retention. Whether or not you support them, that's up to you. But be sure that you understand who you're voting for, have a reason why you're voting for them, make a plan to vote. It is next Tuesday, November 4th. Please get out, vote. I would love to see our percentage of registered voters who actually do go out and vote tick up from the 17% we had last election. But at the very least, if the percentage of voters responding aren't higher, your vote counts even more. So make a plan, go vote, know who you're voting for, and we'll see you next week with a wrap up of the election results and talk about going forward, what we can do to survive the next season before another election, which it will be the midterm elections for Congress. So please like, share, and subscribe. I know I'm just another podcaster saying that, but it is important to get your voice out there, to get our voices out there. I try to include everybody's opinion. I try to get people who understand what's going on and what's at stake. And I try to bring information to you that is important so that you can make good decisions and understand the world around you. I hope to see you again next time. Tune in next Wednesday, 10 a.m. And enjoy the rest of your week, everybody.